Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everything?
It is great. Another Wednesday already.
Indeed, indeed. Welcome everyone to Ready, Set, Action. So today you're joining Deborah Horowitz and myself, Christina Whitmer. In this episode, we're going to discuss the importance of website conversion optimization. So, what do you need to do on the website for generating leads and sales? Before we dive into the topic here, Deb, how you doing? Any thoughts you want to share before we go forward?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about what day of the week it is and the actual date that it is with
Hmm.
9/11. And I think it's important to take a moment to recognize what this day means for everybody, for our country. I don't think we were ever the same afterward. For those of you out there that knew someone or knew a family or just were impacted in whatever way as a result of what happened on 9/11, we're thinking of you. We're all in this together, right? And we're stronger when we're together. Take a moment to remember those that we lost and those that were saved and the first responders that did such an incredible job for all of us to keep our country safe that day. So
Absolutely. I'm
yes,
glad you brought that up. I totally appreciate that. It's very
thank
nice.
you. Yeah. But to the topic of sales, right? Which
Mhm.
every business owner that is music to their ears,
Yeah.
right? And we're always looking at, I don't know about anybody else, but I look at my traffic numbers a lot to the website to just
Right.
see, yeah, am I doing an okay job of driving traffic? And then how is that all converting? So I think today's topic is very valuable to those that are looking at ways to improve those conversions,
Mhm.
right?
Great.
Yes. Why don't you kick us off with tip number one?
Absolutely. And I gave this some thought and I wanted to, I think tip number one, let's talk a little bit about landing pages and what does it mean? How do you look at a landing pages? How do you think about what conversion means for a page? And I think that one of the keys here is we always talk about buyer personas and then we talk about the buyer's journey. Everyone that visits your site, no matter how much traffic you have, it's the more you can understand about why they're there, what they're looking for, how they got there, the better your experience can be tailored to them, right? Because we
That's
know earlier in the buyer's journey, people might be doing research, right? They don't want to talk. They might be willing to subscribe. They might be willing to download information. And then later, as they look at comparing you and evaluating you, maybe they're visiting your case studies more, your testimonials. Maybe early on, they're looking at services. Maybe later on, they're trying to look at even social, like how active are you? So there's different things. And the more you understand that, I think more you could try to create a unique experience that solves problems. Really encourage people to look at the buyer's journey and then start thinking about pages or landing pages that can solve those problems and reach out to these people. Talking about landing pages, anytime you spend money on advertising or press release or anything, typically you want to have a landing page unless you have different goals. But typically, when you're putting money behind something, you have very specific goals. What you want is a landing page that has a single focus. If you're advertising, even multiple campaigns, you may have multiple landing pages depending on what you're talking about. So if you're talking about, like in my sort of service portfolio, if we're talking about the content and the messaging and who are you talking to and what do you need, like someone who's trying to understand that, my landing page is going to be very specific about what I can do to help you understand that, if it's part of my service or not, or if there's tools I have that help you navigate that, help you create your blueprint, help you understand your audience, help you develop personas. And so you want to have things on the page that are converting for that. And you really need to step back from anything that says, I want them to book an appointment with me. It just It may be, right, for certain times, but depending on what you're doing, you've got to understand that someone might be 3 months out from ready to talk to you. And it all depends on our business. Tax season or certain things, people might be much more ready to have that conversation. But a lot of service-based businesses, it takes them a while to understand those things. So I just think the landing pages need to have that understanding of why the person's there and try to solve that problem as directly and try not to link a million other places, right? If you have something that they can take them to that, offer the downloadable, offer the invitation, and then have your follow ups after that, right? So you can
Right.
follow up after that happens, but don't have a page that starts seeing them everywhere because you're never going to, you're going to lose them anytime. Every click is a chance to lose somebody. A
Yeah.
phone call, a text message, something, right? A doorbell. That's just the reality. So you really have to think about those. And so elements of landing pages that we want to look at. So design is important, simplicity. Even with graphics, some people will be uncomfortable with landing pages because they want to they want the graphics and different things. They want to overcomplicate them. But if I'm there, whether I'm on my phone or especially if I'm on my phone, especially with advertising, I might have gotten there on my mobile device. It's got to be simplistic. It's got to be straightforward about what it's offering, what it is you could do for this person. And this is a general website rule in general, which is make sure people know where they are and that you're the right person for them. Tell them what you have to offer. Tell them what it is you're wanting them to do or offering them on that page. Make it clear, make the form simple. Don't ask for more required information than what's needed, and then go from there. So those are some of the pieces for the landing page.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
go ahead.
oh, I was saying, thinking to your point that a strategy where you just redirect them back to your website and not to a landing page can really blow up in your face because you're expecting them to then do more of the work to find the information about what they were really interested in. Just an example, yesterday, my husband's watching the ball game last night, and I'm on my phone scrolling, right? This re- press release or something came up, and I was like, "Oh, I'd like to learn more about that." And I clicked on it, and instead of going right into that article on
Mhm.
the news site, it went to the news site.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, "Where do I go from here?"
Yeah.
And in 2 seconds, I was gone.
Yeah. Leave. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's where you go. Yeah.
So you're investing your dollars in the advertising to drive the people, so help
Mhm.
find their way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the only other thing to add about landing pages, it is a nice opportunity to test things. So, depending on how much traffic you're getting, especially if you're paying money in advertising for Google or social media ads, it's a great opportunity to do A B testing. And the only thing I will really encourage small businesses and anybody with testing is to keep it very simple. Test the color of your button for starters, test the words in the book or test the headline or the graphic. Choose the thing. Otherwise, you're never really going to know what it was. You've got to choose a single thing to test, learn, adopt that, and then test the next things. I don't know. I've seen people want to test multiple things frequently. And the truth is, you never know if it was the color of the button or the words in the headline or the graphic, and that you haven't learned a thing. So, really, when you're doing any kind of testing, just choose a thing because you want, like marketing, you want incremental improvements over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what do you have for tip number two?
So tip number 2 is all about the mastering the art of the call to action. And I look at the CTAs as like the tour guide, right? That's leading your audience in the desired direction that you want them to go. based on what it is that you're talking about in that marketing campaign, right? Think that placement then becomes part of the strategy. It is a strategy unto itself, the
Right.
placement of the calls to action. So if you are just doing a simple offering to them from the landing page, like download this white paper, right? And that's all you really want them to do at that moment. Then having the CTA above the fold, like where they can see it without scrolling, will really help for you to have that conversion. You'll be able to get those email addresses and that contact information from that download and move forward in the marketing process, right? Where it becomes a bit more complex is that if you're doing a more complex kind of sales process as you're guiding them through, then you're going to have to take a look at multiple calls to action as they go on this experience. So I liken it to like, say, I would say that most of our audience has probably been to at least one conference.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's say you find out about this conference and it's okay, I'm going to the website for the conference. And you notice at the very top, they're talking about the date and the location. And then there's a call to action to check out the hotel, you know? And it
Mhm.
pulls you in. You look at the hotel. Whoa, that's really a very fancy schmancy hotel. That looks
Yeah.
awesome. I wonder what the room looks like that I'll be staying in. You start to visualize yourself already there, right?
Mhm.
The reason it's more complex is because they're gonna charge you a lot of money to come to this conference, and so they really wanna pull you in as much as they possibly can.
Mhm.
So then you go back to learn more about, okay, what were the dates? How much is this gonna cost me? And all of that sort of stuff, and they drive you in that direction so that piece by piece, you're becoming a little bit more either weighing in, "Yeah, I wanna attend," or opting out, "No, this doesn't look like it's the right fit for me." They'll have a, like, past attendees list. And you can look at who all attended. Oh, all these companies attended with all of these big names. So I want to be in there and rub elbows with those people and, network with them.
Yep.
Or, hey, this is not my audience at all. Nope, I'm out. So it's using it like on the homepage, but then throughout the landing pages, product pages, each little process along the way, you're giving them incremental information that it's either going to move them to that next step or have them leave. You want it all to stand out. Like if it's a product, right after you tell them, here's all of the components of the product, have a CTA, a call to action that kind of goes off and talks about that product in more detail, right? So they can understand what those words you were mentioning in that product, what does that actually mean? So they can go and do their research. And then don't forget blogs. I think that sometimes we forget that we can have calls to action in blogs where either right at the start or at the end of each blog post, we can have
Mhm.
a call to action there as well, because it's all about building those relationships when you're doing
Right.
blogs, right?
Mhm.
So you want that to happen. So I think it's just a matter of really thinking through that path that you want that person to go on, and then what information is going to be important for them to have to keep them going down that path and get them to say, yes, I'm plunking down $4,000 for
Mhm.
this conference.
Yeah. One of my you brought up the conference websites. One of my favorite lead magnets that and downloadable content that they've had is just several of them do this, but where you get a small presentation for your boss to justify the cost, right? I love
Yeah.
that. Because then
Yes,
that's a really helpful tool for someone who wants to go to something
absolutely.
for whatever reason. And these are all the business reasons and what they can do with that information learned. And that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you were talking about mobile before as well, or we were on that subject. And I think that with mobile, you have to ensure that mobile experience is right on point with the CTA. So looking at a 44 by 44 pixel for that
Mhm.
button, that call to action
Yeah.
button, you were talking about colors. So you definitely want to use contrasting colors that really
Right.
pop,
Mhm.
right? And then there's also the sticky CTAs. Most of the time, I think of a sticky CTA as the chat bot
Mhm.
that's sitting there and is just like visually there in that corner wherever they're scrolling. But I guess you can have other sticky CTAs depending on what you want those audience members
Yeah.
to do. But looking at that from a mobile perspective, I think make it easily tappable. Use those collars to
Mhm.
really stand out with that call to action. And oh, also the placement with the thumbs. We want
Mhm.
it to
Yeah.
be easy to just, as you're scrolling through, to click on that with your thumb
Yeah.
and follow that next step. Was there anything that I missed with that? Trying to
You did remind me for as you're talking about mobile placement and things like the white space around the buttons and around things are extra important. And then a lot of people will disable certain things on mobile specifically because it does get too busy real fast. So if you do have one of those sticky call to actions or a pop up or slide in, ditch the main graphic or something like just
Yeah.
compensate for some of that and honestly, just use your phone and see how it feels to you, not for more than just a minute. Like, you'll know real fast how annoying it is. So, if
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
getting a tiny bit annoyed, you need to start chopping away at what's there. So,
Yes, I'm reminded there's in recruitment advertising a lot of or recruitment marketing, if you will, there's a lot of clients that will use a video as a pop-up to introduce an employee that also currently has the role that you're looking
yeah.
for in talent acquisition. And I'm reminded of this one vendor that used to just have it set on the client's website so that it immediately would pop up as soon as you landed on that page.
Mhm.
And it would be like so shocking to the person that came on the page because then all of a sudden, the moment you land on the page, there's this video face popped up right
Right.
in front of you, right on your mobile device,
Mhm.
especially because
Mhm.
they created this big image of this person talking about the role. And it was frightening. It was almost like it was doing the opposite for that client. So you
Yeah.
really do have to test this out and figure
Mhm.
out what is the reaction going to be because you don't want to shock anybody.
Yeah, and it's easy enough now to do video intros and transitions and whatever you do, I strongly recommend you have the audio off. Autoplay is fine, make it autoplay, but also have captions
Yeah.
because a lot of you and I have talked about this before, never unmuting it. And if it's just you're watching someone, but whether it's TV, work, or other stuff, there's a million places where I don't want the volume on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, you do go in a waiting room and you hear lots of like where there's people talking about how rude it is and all the audio going, but
Oh,
so
yeah.
could be
Uh,
generational. We'll see. But at this point, I think it's best to do that. So,
and I think going back to your point with the A/B testing, that's so critical. It's so
yeah,
critical with the calls to action as well as the content on the landing page. So
right.
don't overlook that as to which color is going to get their attention, which call to action is actually getting more traction on the website too. Yeah. I'm going to shut up. Are you ready for number 3?
Yeah, let's knock out tip number 3. This is obviously we want things that you can work on this week to improve things. So talk a little more about the user experience specifically. There are factors. We're talking about mobile and even the desktop, but mobile as well. The page load speed. Is it optimized for mobile? Is it easy to navigate? So these are all things about the user experience that you can control. And on mobile, you can look at those. Google has testing tools. You can see about page load. Google's generally going to judge you on your mobile experience now for everything that, like, if I am on the desktop and I search for you, a lot of how you perform on mobile is affecting your ranking. So it is important to make sure that You don't have the images are compressed or smaller. Things are, if you have a video, most likely you need to have it on YouTube or another platform so that the bandwidth is not slowing your website down, right? So you want to embed those things so you're taking advantage of YouTube's fast loads. So you want to make sure all of that is, and then the navigation. Google is looking at all these signals of what you do, how you interact as a sign of how well your site is supporting the user. So keep that stuff in mind. And there's a lot of tools you can use, right? So Google has analytics. They also have a search console that you can connect and you can see pages visited. How did people search to get to your website? You can learn a lot from these tools. There's also things you can add like heat map stuff. So you can install something. You can even buy, there's a lot of software as a service that's month to month. So you can get something for a month or two, especially on a high traffic time of year for you. And take a look at the heat maps. Where are people putting their cursor over you? Where are they tapping? That will show you what they're looking at. Typically, it's top left and then it goes down and over, or over and then down. So look at that, right? And then that will, when you start to see that sort of heat map smudges of action, you really take a look at what you're saying and what people are seeing first. It may affect where your call to action button is. It may affect where you put the graphic. So if you put a graphic top left, maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe you want that first thing they see to be a word or something, and then the graphic supports it because you're going to see it a little easier. So anyway, you just want to take that kind of stuff into, and I love heat map stuff. So I haven't done it in a while, but it's fun to see where people are going, and then you'll see if there's a clickable link, if there's a little more activity there, somebody clicks. It's really helpful. It's interesting as well. And the other thing is a little bit about what you started to talk about, which is that seamless user journey from landing page to conversion or from home page to newsletter subscribe or whatever that journey is. Really make it seamless. What I like to do is take a look at traffic on the website. Where does it start? Where do they come in? This is not so much landing page. This is more general website. Like, where do they come in? Is it a blog? Is it the team page? Is it the home page? Like, how do they start? And then from there, where do they go? And if you see someone takes a few jumps, right? They're learning about you. They go to the about page. That's a good, if someone goes to your about page, what does that mean? They're trying to find a little bit more about you as a business, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means necessarily, but you can start to intuit some things and take some guesses. But the question is, if someone leaves after that, either they got what they wanted and that's really all they wanted, or nothing compelled them to do the next thing, right? So wouldn't it be nice if they were subscribing to a newsletter or reading more about the founder, or so about page could have more about the owner, right? Click off and learn more. That seems logical. And so if it's not there, you start to think, maybe I'll add that and let's see where that takes them. If someone goes to a service page and doesn't take them anywhere else, maybe that service page should have had something downloadable that relates to that service, right? If it's a website page, right, about doing websites, making websites, maybe a website evaluation checklist is a good thing to go with that. So start thinking about what's next for each page. And that's a big one as far as like just looking at the seamless thing. And that's where you constantly grow your website. Okay, someone went to this page. What's the most logical thing? If they don't want to talk to me yet, what's the most logical thing that they would benefit from? And that's where you can really valuably grow your site. So,
Yeah. That's an excellent point. Yeah. I think sometimes we're just all about, okay, we want to capture them and sell them so fast. We're
mhm,
just so willing to throw the kitchen sink at them. And then we really have to understand that buyers are on an entirely different journey
mhm,
now than they were 5, 10 years ago. And you really have to meet them where they are in that
mhm.
process.
Yeah. And assume the least amount of trust, most likely, right? Like that the trust
Yeah.
is at 0 or 5, right? And that you
Yeah.
want to get it to 70, 80, 90 over time. So, how do you establish trust and give them things and show your expertise? So, like a specific service page, show them a tool that helps and worth it. Show them a testimonial of someone you've done this specific thing for. Like, start really thoughtfully pairing things and ideas and go from there. And it's tricky because even Google has stopped really looking at bounce rate, which means going to one page and leaving. That was always like a big deal. But even like they're not, the question is, did the person get what they need from their
Right.
experience? And so this idea of non-linear, behavior is very important to think about. Think about someone going, think about someone coming back a couple of days later. Like this sort of sporadic like activity, how can you make that into a journey if it's not all happening in 1 10 minute? Because just less and less happens in one experience nowadays, regardless. Even if I online grocery shop, it sometimes a cart will sit there, right? And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
maybe I do need something. Let me think about it. Nothing is as linear as it used to be. So
It's
really
not.
thinking about the whole experience over a period of time, 30 days or whatever it is. How can you keep making the experience better depending on what page you're on? Think
Mhm.
about a service related to a specific case study, testimonial, or
Yeah.
a lead magnet that you can provide. So I'd have to say one thing for tip 3, go look at the service pages. You should have something, a page for each service, to be honest. So start thinking about that. Thinking about what can help someone on a service if they're not ready to talk to you.
Mhm. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Well, excellent. So I think we're at our mark for
We are.
you and I could probably talk for another hour at least about this.
But now it's time to do, right? Let's go make some of these things happen. So awesome. You want to wrap us up? Or
So we would just thank you all for joining us again today. As a reminder, please follow us on LinkedIn, connect with us on LinkedIn, follow us on podcasts, wherever you get yours. We're on Spotify, but I think you can find us in lots of places and just continue to have this conversation with us. Let us know what's going to help to drive your business growth. What do you need to learn most about? And we are happy to research that topic, call in the experts, whatever it
yeah,
is to help you grow. So
awesome.
thank you for your time today.
I'll see you later.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.